A question most of us have at least asked ourselves once is, how can I be a better person? And that's a good thing, really. But you're here to find out the answer to the question, which can be reworded into, how can I be moral? When we do something wrong, we tend to cover it up with various excuses we tell ourselves or even others. And of course, just like life, the question, how can I be moral, is rather abstract and deeper in meaning. But like any complex theory, we can always break it down. So let's define being moral. Well, being moral is just doing good instead of bad, you might say. And obviously, if it was, this podcast would be over by now. And as I'm hinting, what is being moral? People ask themselves, was what I did good? But this only reveals that they are feeling guilty or doubtful, and that's what morality is, the underlying motivation and reasoning behind your action. In a good action, bad intentions and ulterior motives can make the action unable to qualify as good. But what does this mean? Well, imagine this. A person donates a bunch of clothes, furniture, and utilities to people in need. And of course, in others' eyes, they might think, oh, what a blessed soul they are, and how caring. But what if they were finding a way to deposit all their junk in their basement to clear up space for possible tenants and income? And there, we can rewind back to our original statement, but with a little adjustments that do not change the underlying motive. So here we go. A person gives away a bunch of junk for possible income. Now, with the intentions revealed, look how much our original statement has changed. Now, of course, how do we spot this underlying motive if we tend to do actions without thinking? Well, like any kindergarten detective assignment, we can use the 5 W's: what, why, who, where, and how. Using these to find our underlying motive and combining them with morality, we get the moral object, or the what. This is where you can use the flavorless, I did a good action instead of a bad one claim. The moral object refers to the action itself. Stealing, lying, helping, or telling the truth can all easily fit within their own respective categories of good or bad, but can always end up on their polar opposite side, except for perjury, rape, blasphemy, and murder, which are all inherently wrong. Going back, these actions make up the content of the moral object, which is how we speak, act, or even don't act. Good and bad actions are always habit-forming, and with these actions easily decided as either good or bad, decides the element in morality. Now, instead of what, well, why? Why am I doing this? Why do I want to do this? These are both good questions to ask yourself before doing your intended action. Well, of course, this sounds cheesy and comes straight out of horror or rom-com, which are two totally different movie genres, but it really helps in determining the motive of our action. Unlike the easy, oh, this action is good and this one's bad, sometimes our intentions can be mixed. And here's a helpful hint. Keep our intentions good, and remember that the ends do not justify the means. For this section, because the intention is so important, we can temporarily ignore the moral object and see that if our intention is good, then the action is good. But if our intention is bad, then the action is bad. But it's not that simple. Finally, we arrive at our last game changer, the circumstances surrounding the object. This is more of an advantage or disadvantage in any turn-based game, as it can only increase the good or evil in your particular action. But why is this the final section? Isn't there still the who, when, where, and how? Well, the circumstances encase all of these terms, and here's why, or should I say who. In case you didn't get the or even don't act I dropped earlier in the moral object, I'll give you an example. You're doing your errands and arrive at your convenient little grocery store, but suddenly, in the corner of your eye, someone is in the fruit section slipping produce into their baggy jacket, one by one. You probably not do anything about it due to the fear of the unknown, or you simply don't care enough. But here's where we change the story, or the who. What if you were a well-known police officer? Or what if the person stealing was a child, adult, or elderly? In each combination of scenarios, it feels either less or more concerning. And also, isn't the fact that you didn't do anything also concerning? Doesn't this change whether you're part of the law enforcement or not? Another factor, or when, can also be applied to many scenarios. For example, commemorating a surgeon for their overnight surgery immediately is more impactful than commemorating them a week after. Where is also quite simple to explain. You can imagine this as, well, toying around with a pocket knife in a bustling street is probably worse than toying around with it in the wild. Finally, how is a more complex circumstance, as it can even alter the original action, but not the intention itself. For example, to gain someone's attention, yelling at them is more troublesome than tapping their shoulder. With these factors in mind, all we have to do is run our action through questions such as, is my original action good? Was my intention good? Were the circumstances right? And if the answer is yes, you can truly become a moral person and stop making excuses to cover up your actions. But now what? There's still so many problems out there that still need fixing. Take climate change, for example. We know that we are the cause of climate change, and yet we still harm the earth. But why? Well, because nobody is 100% good. We are all plagued by whatever benefits us and the things we care about. And if it becomes a problem, we always try to justify everything. So now with the answer for how can I be moral in mind, how can we fix the destruction of the planet we live on? Well, through our everyday actions, we can strive to save the planet. Let's bring back the 3 questions. Is my original question good? Was my intention good? Were the circumstances right? But modify them. 2. Can my original action be better? Can my intention be better? Can the circumstances have been better? With these modifications, we can grow to become even more moral. Suddenly, statements such as, I'm going to drive a car, I'm running low on paper, 5 cents for a plastic bag is not that bad, can turn into, can I use public transportation to save on gas pollution? Can I reuse old paper to save trees? Can I bring a sturdy reusable bag next time? Simply, with these little tweaks in life, it can save the planet, and as a bonus, can save you from extra costs and time. Through this podcast and example, we now know how to be moral and how being moral benefits us. That was How Can I Be Moral? See you next time.